Hey ladies and gentlemen, today I would just like to give you a brief overview between the differences between a Keynesian school of thought and a classical school of thought, and then link this with the monetary theory. Okay, so link this with the theory of money and how it differs between these two schools. Let's start with the classical school first. The classical school, there's a main assumption of certainty. What does certainty mean? Now, a certain economic environment means that we can use our past to predict the future. The past and the future is the same. Thus, shocks in the past, we know what the outcomes would be, and thus in the future the same shocks will lead to the same outcomes, and thus we will know exactly what is going to happen in the future based on the past. And that is one condition within the classical school that you first need to understand in a broad view before you go into the theory of money. And another thing within the classical school is that there's only economic variables that will drive the economy. These real economic variables, real economic shocks that will drive the economy. And that's a key thing to understand, because when you go to the Keynesian school of thought, the main assumption in the Keynesian school is uncertainty. Now, what does uncertainty mean? Uncertainty means that your past is not connected to your future, meaning each shock will have its own unique outcome. So the shock that happened in the past does not, and the outcome it had, does not relate to the future. So we can't learn anything from this past, as the future is different than the past. And that's very important to understand. So economic conditions does not drive the economy, but the environment in which the economy is set drives the economy. Now, what are these conditions if you think about it? Society and political factors are normally the things that we need to understand uncertainty, because in an uncertain environment it means that there are external factors that play a big part in driving the economy. And that's the key difference between the Keynesian and classical school in broad, is that the classical school assumes certainty and the Keynesian school assumed uncertainty. And therefore this now relates into our theory of money. And the theory of money can be explained by one key identity that we need to always study, and that is MV equals PY. This is the major identity you need to understand in economics when you want to understand the theory of money, money demand, money supply, but also want to understand the difference between a Keynesian and classical school. So let's look at it from the side of how the Keynesians and classicals look at this identity differently. Let's start with the classical school. So the classical schools, let's just look at what does this identity mean. So this identity shows us that money, which is the amount of money in the economy, the physical notes and coins, times velocity. What is velocity? It's the amount of times a 10 Rand or 100 Rand is spent in the economy. So M is the units, velocity is the amount of time these units are spent given a certain period, let's say 1 year. Then P is your prices, and Y is the products that you buy. So we can use a simple example for this. We can say, let's take a 100 Rand note, and this 100 Rand note is spent 3 times in the economy in a given month. Thus, the amount of money in circulation is 300. Okay, that is equal, let's take the price. The price of a product is, let's say, 2. And we buy 2 products. Let's say we buy 2 laptops with this product, with this, as a laptop is worth 150. Now, the amount of money will then be equal to the amount we spent in the economy, which is very important to understand. So this equals this. And what does this represent? This one represents the nominal GDP, and this one also represents nominal GDP. Okay, so it's very important that you understand this linkage between the two sectors, which is the money side and then also the real side. Okay, very important you understand this. What does the classicals and the Keynesians do? So the classical school assumes 2 things. In the long run, your output is constant. We call this money neutrality, meaning in the long run your real variables will not be affected by money changes. Okay, money neutrality. If you want to learn more of that, Google it. Okay, so money neutrality, and this output is then constant in the long run. Not in the short run, but in the long run output is constant. Also, velocity is constant under the classical school. So velocity is constant and output is constant, meaning the only 2 variables that change is M and P. And thus we can say if the prices, let's say, increase by 5%, P goes up by 5%, money supply will also go up by 5%. Or vice versa. You can say if money supply goes up by 5%, prices will also go up by 5%. Okay, and that's the classical school, and also the reason why the classical school assumes that a real side will be independent from a nominal side and vice versa, and the two won't affect each other. But let's look at the Keynesian side. How did the Keynesians view this identity? There's one key difference when we look at a Keynesian school, and I'm just going to show it to you, is they remove this constant from the velocity and the output. They believe that velocity is volatile over time and output also changes over time. And this gives a whole new dimension to this identity, as now these variables are interlinked with each other and all of them can change in a given time period. And thus this makes this identity a lot more complicated than it should be under the classical school's assumption. Okay, so that's the first. Okay. So just now, the second part of this lecture, I just want to show you, the short video, I just want to show you the key difference between a classical and Keynesian school in terms of one key variable, and that is money demand. Okay, how does the classical school view money demand? How does the Keynesian school view money demand? Because the money demand is very important to understand. Let's just think about it first. What is money demand? And money demand, defined in this situation, is wallet money, I like to call it. It's money you keep in your pocket. So if you have a choice between keeping money in your pocket, in your wallet, or you want to keep it in a share and bond, then you would say, okay, that's a choice to make. So now you would say, okay, some of my money is going to my wallet, some of it I'm going to invest in my shares and bonds and in long-run investments. Why would you want some money? Now that is the key thing here. There's 3 reasons why we want to keep money. Okay? The first reason is transactionary. We want to keep money because we want to make transactions. The second reason, so that's the first reason, T for transaction. Then we will also want to keep money for precautionary measures. You might want to keep it if someone goes ill in your family or if something happens to your car. Thus you want to keep some money because you can't use a share and a bond in order to pay your medical bill. You need money. That's where also you need money. And the third and final reason, which is important, is speculative. Those are the 3 reasons why we want to keep money. Okay, transactions, precautionary, and speculative. Now, what does the classicals and the Keynesians think about these 3 reasons, and how does this relate to money demand? And this is very important for you to understand. Now, transactionary purposes. The classicals view transactionary purposes as the following. If your output goes up, then you would demand more money. And that's fine. And even the classicals and the Keynesians agreed on this. So both classicals and Keynesians agreed that if your output goes up or your income goes up, you earn more money, your money demand goes up. The second reason, precautionary, they viewed as, okay, again, if your output goes up, you demand more money because now you can actually keep more money in your wallet. Again, think about money demand as money being kept in your wallet, okay, and not in shares and bonds, as is the choice between the two. And that is the first one. So this one, and the classicals and Keynesians also both agreed on this one. Now the last one, and this is where the difference became in, because the classical school does not look into this assumption of this third reason, which is a speculative motive. Because what is the one variable included in the speculative motive that we have to understand is that interest rates play an important part now in your determination. Why? Because if you have interest rates, let's look at the following. Let's go back to what money demand means. You keep money either in your bank account, or let's say in your wallet, or you keep money in shares and bonds. If the interest rates are very high, then you would keep less money in your wallet because you can invest more of it in shares and bonds. Very important again. If the interest rates are very high, you will keep less money, so money demand goes down. And that's the key thing to understand here, is that interest rates now play a part in your determination of money demand. So just to quickly summarize, for a classical school, only Y plays a part in affecting your money demand. With the Keynesian school, Y and interest rates play a part because they look, the Keynesian side looks into the speculative nature of money demand and see, okay, you would want to keep some money demand, some of your money in cash, some of it in assets and long-term assets, and thus your interest rates become very important. And that's the key difference between the two in terms of money demand that you need to understand, because this relates to the theory of how the nominal side affects the real side, and in the classical school the nominal side does not affect the real side, and vice versa, which is one of the key assumptions to make. So you can extend on this by looking at a portfolio choice theory, which is done also by Friedman. You can extend the classical school and the Keynesian school into the new classical, new Keynesian schools, but this is the foundation of the classical and Keynesian school that you need to understand to show the differences between the two. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Keep watch on my YouTube channel for more videos on this and other related topics. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy your day.